Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, I'm not sure. I never do a video. All my posts are written, and as my wife always likes to remind me, they're too long. So for this, I thought I'd do a video. Um, Back in eighth grade, which was 54 years ago, it was Hopkins Junior High, and the PE teacher was a guy named Bill Radjic. Bill happened to also be the basketball coach. And after noticing that I grew approximately 6 inches in my eighth grade year, at the end of that year, he walked up to me and he said, "Hey, can you touch the rim?" And I walked over and jumped up, and I knew I could, and I jumped up and grabbed it with both hands. And he's like, "Yeah, you're going to play basketball next year, so that's all there is to it." So I did. My ninth grade year was the first year. That was 54 years ago, and I've played ever since. Rec ball, whatever I can get into, tournaments, it doesn't matter. I've been playing. But now I've decided it's time to retire from competitive basketball. I may still get a run in once in a while, but the idea of playing 2 to 3 times a week is over. Too many injuries. I mean, I'm 68. I like to think I can still play, and I can still hit some shots, and I can still do some things even against kids that are half my age. But I'm either getting injured, and even with no injuries, my recovery time is just too difficult. And this last few weeks, I've been dealing with some stuff, and I tried playing last night and felt something pop in my foot, and I just thought, I gotta stop. At least that's my intention. Maybe I change. Michael came back, Tom Brady came back, but my intention right now is I'm not going to play anymore. I want to say I've enjoyed every minute of the 54 years of playing. I think I've lasted longer than most people, and it's because I've enjoyed it. I've had 8 surgeries, probably, something like that. ACL, screws in my foot, shoulder surgery that didn't work, torn biceps. It's been a lot. I've probably had 50 stitches from cuts in my face or different places, but it's been great. I've enjoyed it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I do want to mention a bunch of people that I've either played with or had an influence on me. I'm going to forget people, but I thought I'm just going to go through a few of them. The very first ones are the Cotton family, where I started shooting when I was 7, 8 years old. I'd go to the Cotton house and shoot hoops, and I sucked, but Wayne and Doug and their dad kept encouraging me, and eventually I could shoot a little bit, and then when I had the growth spurt, got better, right? Once I got into high school, and that first year I played in ninth grade, Doug was the stud of the league and was just a really great teammate, and he played with us in high school too. But in high school, there was Lee Ferris, Brad Fewer, who I spent a ton of time with. Brad probably was an influence for me becoming much better. We'd go shoot and work on our game all summer at the Miller Natatorium, for those of you who know what that was or is. Mark McCauley, Al Larson, the late Gene Smith, Doug Miller, Jim Brooks, I don't know who, I'm going to forget somebody. And then I went to college, and one of my roommates was Gene Smith. And then after moving to Vancouver, after college, I started playing with guys like Gary Van Allen, Jim Shin, who was an inspiration because by the time I was playing with him, he was in his 40s, which was unbelievable. Then I started playing City League ball, and I started playing with John Bosich and Dick Hoff, who was a fellow Aberdeen alumni, both of those guys. Also had Randy Fico and guys like Mike Merlino and Paul Walters. And we had some pretty good City League teams. It was a lot of fun. And later I went up to play at Lakeshore Athletic Club the first time I lived here in Vancouver, and played with guys like Dave Heim and John Heim and Bill Close, Aaron Waite and Kurt Scheidel. And we won some Lakeshore championships. I must have done something good when I left. The manager at the club who ran the basketball league named one of the divisions of the league after me. And I don't know how long that lasted, but it was there for a while. When I lived in Centralia, I played with guys like Chris Thomas and Gary Biggers, and from the paper, Eric Robinson. and then eventually moved to Seattle. And I will say some of my favorite memories are from playing in Seattle, because that was really where I started playing with Colin. And not too many guys get to play with their son. And Colin and I didn't just play a few years. We've pretty much played off and on for 20. And it's been great. And even better than that are some of the teammates I had in Seattle, including some of Colin's high school teammates. And after watching these guys grow up and then to be playing with them, and so Jacob Mitchell, Devin Connor Green, from a rival high school in Olympia, Matt Hargrave, and then there were other Bobcat alums that were playing with us in Seattle, Ricky McKinney and Nick Bammer. And then I can't forget David Long, who was somebody that I worked with at the Seattle Times, and David was a great teammate. And then there was Larry Green, who just was a phenomenal player. I still can remember we played 2 games, and I think he had 10 dunks in 2 games, which in City League, that's pretty unusual. And then one of the guys that worked for the league up there in Seattle, Jeff Anderson, who I got to be friends with. And then when I moved back to Vancouver, I kept playing, and I was back at Lakeshore, and one of the players I played with was Aaron Waite, 33 years after we had last played together, and we actually won a championship. And then one night a kid walked up to me, I say a kid, he's probably late 30s, early 40s, and he goes, "Yeah, I think I know you." It turns out his name is Mark Nicola, and I coached him when he was in 5th grade back in Vancouver when I had lived there before, and now he was playing up at the club. And there were times I played against his son, who was playing with him. So I'm playing with the son, playing against the son of a guy who I coached when he was 11. So that tells you just how old I was. But playing with those guys, especially Colin's friends and Colin, was just tremendous. And I had the opportunity to play with Jacob over in Portland about a month and a half ago, and it was just so much fun. And Whitney brought her 2 kids there and recorded some of it. So I've got a lot of memories. I can tell you that I've enjoyed every minute of it. You know, like I said, I probably will still get a run in once in a while, but the idea that I mean, unless it changes, unless my body miraculously says, "Hey, yeah, you can keep going." But if not, I've had a pretty good run. If you've watched this all the way through, leave a comment. If you played with me, against me, saw me play, you want to say something, you can roast me, you can make fun of my game, you can say something you liked about my game. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say, put it in the comments so I'll have something here to kind of look back on. But, you know, for years I used to have a slogan, "Have basketball, will travel." Well, here's the ball. Time to put it away. That's it.